Hasan Minhaj is off with his head. His latest comedy special streaming now on Netflix. Hasan Minhaj is a dope stand-up comedian. I've seen all his comedy specials, really enjoyed them. He kind of popularized, in my opinion, using slides and pictures and visual aids throughout his stand-up, although this one, he didn't have any of that, which was an interesting shift. He was a correspondent on The Daily Show under Jon Stewart, had his own show on Netflix as well. And recently, a few months ago, I think I mentioned this on the pod, and I have broken down his other comedy specials, by the way, in the past, if you guys want to go dig those up. I also have a comedy about stand-up comedy playlist on my YouTube page. If you guys are interested, you could dig it up there probably more easily than going back and listening to an old full episode of the pod. But I think I mentioned on the podcast his recent controversy from a few months back where he was quote unquote caught telling lies within his stand-up comedy, which was generally taken one of two ways, which was, oh, that's kind of dirty to make things up about, because one of the things was that he was allegedly making things up about real people that didn't happen, and those people came out, like, you know, bits that he had about his prom date and her parents being racist and not, you know, him showing up and them not letting him take her to prom because he was a brown kid, she was a white girl. And then it turns out that she's married now to an Indian guy, and she came out and said that, you know, none of that ever happened. And then on the flip side, you have him defending that, yes, that specifically or something similar to that happened, but also the folks defending the mindset of a comedian. Obviously, all stories are embellished and changed and tweaked for comedic effect, which is what comics do. And I myself was initially more on the former side of that argument, and now I'm more on the latter side of that argument. But just this special coming out in and of itself, you know, folks were anticipating him, you know, speaking to that, and he does within this special. And something that I don't like, what sucked around when that was going on, is that I hate when folks that I like are like beefing with each other. Like, I know some of the guys on Flagrant, Akash specifically, went in on Hasan when that whole controversy came out, and were just highlighting a few other things because they came up and, like, in the comedy scene, not completely together, but somewhat together. But he said some other shady stories about Hasan, kind of jumped on the bandwagon, if you will, folks that were attacking him for shit. And if true, definitely didn't look good on Hasan, but it kind of like reinforced the whole allegation of him just making shit up. But yeah, I just hate seeing that type of thing. It's kind of like the whole, what I've been seeing lately with the whole, some of the folks within the Rogan sphere, if you will, or within his orbit that are feuding or beefing or like don't like each other and stuff like that, and even separated themselves from Rogan himself. Like, you have the Sam Harris, obviously, and Kyle Kalinski's, Crystal Ball a bit, which kind of makes sense, you know, being with Kyle, you know, Kyle's wife. But these were all folks that blew up because of Rogan, and now are taking shots, and mainly because they're not down with some of his more right-leaning views, and he's not as left as he was before. And I still like those folks and their podcasts and their shows. So yeah, I just kind of hate that, like the beefing between folks that I like. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, it was anticipated to see how Hasan would address it, that whole controversy, and he essentially addressed it as, he mentioned it as a couple times throughout the special, but he essentially sarcastically just addressed it as the New Yorker were fact-checking his stand-up, which is, you know, he was saying it like, you're fact-checking comedy. Like, how ridiculous is that? Which in a vacuum it is. And he was kind of like, oh no, I got caught, you know, embellishing for dramatic effect. And that was, I think, as far as he went. But he did continue taking shots at the New Yorker and that type of behavior in general throughout. He also mentioned that our Congress is like Israeli massnursing-home.gov, and that we should treat our politicians the way we treat our professional athletes. He was like, if we treated Ruth Bader Ginsburg like Tom Brady, abortion would still be legal. That was hilarious. Just like kick her out, force her to retire, one way or the other, replace her with another left-leaning judge, and just completely avoid Trump coming in and having put in a right-leaning one. He had a funny bit where he says that Hillary wanted to be president so bad that she was willing to sit in the same office that, and then he left it open after that, obviously alluding to Clinton getting a BJ from Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office. And he says that Bajistan, as he calls the brown folks, has 4 key issues that they give a fuck about, which are essentially give us a green card, believe in God, lower our taxes, and don't bomb our home country. After that, you got our vote. I like this line that he mentioned that he is from a generation of men that don't read but listen to podcasts. Shout out to podcasts. He mentioned his boy Sanjay sent him Kobe Bryant quotes, and he highlighted that famous quote, which is hard men make soft times make soft men make hard times make hard men, and it's a cycle. Like his boy Sanjay is texting him that and quotes Mamba mentality quotes from Kobe. He just writes him back, he's like, Sanjay, you're a fucking software engineer. When you sending me this shit. That was hilarious. He mentioned the Gaza and Israeli attacks a few times throughout, which I thought was pretty dope to do. He's a mainstream comedian and probably wouldn't be too in his best interest to do so, especially if he's on one side more than the other. But I like how he highlighted, which again is how I feel, how all issues now are made binary. They're either black and white. It's like who's right, Gaza or Israel? And it's like the issue really is that it's insane people versus insufferable people. He had this bit on racism that was dope, where he says that white people have the classic hits when it comes to racism, and they hate on people that don't look like them. But the rest of us, we hate people that look just like us. Think like India, Pakistan, Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, or warring factions within like Middle Eastern countries or African countries, so on and so forth. This was funny. He goes, BLM, that movement was just, the Black Lives Matter movement was just them saying, we just want to be treated human beings. And then the ALM movement, the All Lives Matter movement, was more like, no. And then he goes, his pops, coming from like the immigrant mentality, he's like, it's not about Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter. It's none of those fucking people matter. Tell me what your GPA is and I'll tell you if you fucking matter. And the last thing I'll mention about his special is he says that therapy and like taking therapy needs to be more like a haircut. You can't tell us about it. We have to notice the difference in you. It was a dope special by Hasan Minhaj, and I highly recommend it. Hasan Minhaj's Off With His Head, streaming now on Netflix. Check it out.